This is video 5. It's a Blender introduction. In this video, you will learn the basics of the materials in Blender, which will allow you to get the look that you want for your 3D object. We will continue with a can that we designed in a previous video. Before we do that, let's create a studio background, somewhat similar to Photo Studio, so we can see shadows as well as the reflections better. Make sure that you are in object mode, not in the edit mode. If I will add another object by clicking Shift and A and choosing one of the objects, it will embed this object together another object inside the cylinder. So when I exit edit mode, I will demonstrate that. I will click Shift A and add cube. So I added cube here. And if I exit edit mode by clicking on this edit field in the left upper corner and select object mode, I can see now that the cylinder in the layers panel is actually one object. So it's the can together with the cube becomes one object. This is maybe will be useful. In some cases, it is not what we want to do right now. Let's go back from object mode to edit mode, and I will click Command Z to undo that and delete the cube. So I will click on the edit mode field in the left upper corner, select object mode to exit edit mode, and now that I'm here, now I can add another object. So I will click Shift A on the keyboard and I will add mesh. It will be plane. So now that the plane is added, it is just right under the can because we positioned our can on 0 and is the place where the plane is. So it makes it easier for us now to just work with the plane. The plane is added here, but we would like to have a bigger one. So while the plane is selected, I will click S on it and scale it. I will scale it to somewhat here. It doesn't really matter because we can change that later. But for now it will be just enough. It should be bigger than our can. And this will be fine. We have two things. We have cylinder, which became a can, and then we have a plane. So with the plane selected, let's go to the layer panel and let's rename it. I will just click 2 times on it and just change, instead of plane, I will write background. So now we know what kind of object it is. Also, I will rename cylinder, so I'll click twice on cylinder and write can. So we know what are the objects that we have here. Instead of clicking Command S, I will go to File, click Save As, and save as the new one. So I will say can version 2 and click Save. So now I don't overwrite the previous can as we made before. Alright, so now we have plane and we have can. If we start thinking about our image we want to get in the end, I want to make something similar to a studio background. With the background layer and now in layers panel selected, I will go to edit mode. Go to the upper left corner and select, instead of object mode, I can select edit mode, or I can use tab button on the keyboard. Tab button is just above caps lock on the left side of your keyboard. If I click tab, it switches between edit mode, and if I click again, we go back again to object mode. And this is very fast way to switch from one to another. Not to mix those two different areas, you can immediately recognize edit mode by big amount of tools on the left side, and if we switch back to the object mode, we don't have so many. So let's go back to edit mode, and in the edit mode I would like to make this wall next to it. So to do that, I can click number 3 on my keyboard, and this will position straight from the X point of view. We can see that on Gizmo, and we kind of cannot see where our plane is because it's exactly hiding under the orange line. If we move a little bit, we can see that it is there. To get started, let's select one of the edges behind the can. Doesn't matter which one, but if I click number 3, let's say I want to make it one in the right side here. I want to select this edge. To do that, I have to go to the upper left corner in the screen where I have vertex selection, edge selection, and face selection. Let's select edge selection tool so I can select one of the edges. I want to select the one that is in the right side of the can. So now with this edge selected, I can click button 3 on the keyboard again. And I will scroll out a little bit by going on the magnifying glass on the right side. Scroll out a bit so I can see that the dark green area is where the plane is. And now I know that the edge on the right should be selected. I want to keep this plane as it is. I just want to extend it. To extend it, we already learned that we can do that by selecting extrude option in the left side. So we can just go to the toolbar on the left side, select extrude region, and with that, after we select, we see something appeared on the screen. So around the edge we selected, we have a gizmo. We learned about gizmos already, and this gizmo has two things. It has this yellow plus symbol indicator that I can just select and drag. It creates some kind of line. It's difficult to see because we are looking straight for it, but I just moved a little bit up, and now I'll come back to the view, and what it did, it extended the same plane shape from this edge that I selected above. By extruding, we know that we are just creating more, we're adding more on the existing shape. So we're just growing the shape. And if I do this now, it just goes into other area. It just goes sideways. And again, it changes angles. I don't want to do that, and it can be pretty confusing. So what I will do, I will click Command Z just to go to original place where we were, and I will click number 3 again. I don't want to use this yellow plus indicator here. What I want to do, I want to use this white gizmo. And this white gizmo allows me to select it when I'm inside this gizmo. So when I just go inside, I can just select it and drag it. And it's difficult to see, but there is a small line appearing. And now, when I select the white gizmo, it allows me to move this plane, grow this plane to any direction. So what I will do, I will just grow it slowly like this. When I release it, it just starts again. So I can just keep on growing it slowly like this until I get something like this, and here I'll try to go all the way straight up and maybe even more, just to create some kind of rounded corner here, not to have straight edges, because we know in photography and photo studios that creates all the problems. That's why we have this rounded edge for the nice shadows. And if we look from the side, we can see that we created a really nice curve here. And with this, actually it looks pretty good. So we have can and we have background that we created. And this is great. So now with this plane created, we can exit edit mode. So to exit edit mode, I will click tab on my keyboard, and now I'm in the object mode. So in the object mode, I can see I have two objects. I have background and the can. Alright, that we have it now, let's just look through the camera and see what do we see. The camera is looking wrong way, so we need to reposition our camera, and we know how to do that. I will click on camera icon again to exit it, open this panel next to gizmo on clicking on the small icon, or clicking N key on the keyboard, and when it opens I will have to go to view, and inside the view let's make sure that lock camera to view is marked. So I'll just mark it, and I will click N on the keyboard again to close the panel. So now when I go into the camera mode, I just click on camera icon, and when I'm here, I can just move around and change the position. I can just use the gizmo here to zoom out. Somewhere maybe here, change its angle, and with selecting on the pan to move, I'll pan around. I'll change an angle again, and you can make your own compositions. You know how to do them already. I will zoom in a little bit, and of course I want to see it a little bit maybe in the angle, and zoom out. Let's say I want to see our can from this angle. I will make this plane even bigger, so I will exit the camera, select background or a plane. I click S button on the keyboard, and instead of scaling it all, I will scale only on X axis. So I'll click X button on the keyboard and drag it. If I click on camera view now, I can see it fits better, so I have much bigger background behind it. One of the things that we notice before we add colors is that our background has these lines here. To make this nicer and to avoid having those lines, I can just simply click right on the plane, or I will click, because I'm using laptop, with 2 fingers on touchpad to open this menu with the background selected, and I will select shade smooth. When I select it, you can see that now this angle that we created in edit, it became much more smooth than before. I can just do the same for the can. Click on the can, I will go to upper left corner to object, and inside here I will select shade smooth option. If I select that, so this looks already much better. Before we add color, let's just take a picture. So let's open the camera view. We see that the angle is okay, or I can just move it a little bit more because I want to also capture the opening here. I will move it to see it. I will click on camera again to exit. Open render view. So I want to see how it looks, not in the solid mode, but how it looks with the light that we have here. So I'll go to the 4th icon here on viewport shading. I click this one, the last 4th icon, and now we can see that we have shadow, we have light, and now we could just take a picture. I click F12. So let's click image and save as. In this panel behind, I have to move it around. In this panel, I'll have to select Blender renders file, and then I'll just change the name can image 2. I will just also, I have to select, because now it's PNG, I want to select as JPEG. I'll select JPEG and click save as image. I save that, and now I can close this panel, so I know that this image was saved. Let's go into adding some of the colors. So let's exit render view by clicking on the 2nd icon that says solid mode. Let's go by here. So first, add color on the background. Select it, select the plane, select the background, and then go to the panel on the right side. We have to find the red circle, and we have 2. We have one here, and then we have one at the bottom. The first one, it means it's world properties. Another one, it's material properties. What we want to do is we want to choose the bottom one that says material properties. So let's click on material properties. Now we don't have any materials. That's why everything here is empty. To add new materials, simply we just click on new. We click on this one and it opens a lot of functions for us. First thing what we want to do is to rename this. It is material.001 in the beginning. So let's rename it. Let's go to this field bottom here and let's rename everything. Let's say background color. It is very important to add names for materials, so when you have a lot of objects, you can reuse the same ones and you can recognize which one is which. Once we do that, we just can click somewhere else and we can see that this was created. However, it still doesn't have any color. So let's start by adding base color. So we just go to base color and select one of the colors. So I'll select some purple color. And once I select, I don't see any result here yet, because remember we switched from render view to solid mode in the right upper corner. And solid mode doesn't show the colors. It optimizes your computer and tries to make Blender to run as fast as possible, so you wouldn't have some restrictions. So now to see the result, we can click on the third icon that says Material Preview Mode, and we see what happens here. So we see the color has been applied on the background. However, this material view is good just to see what kind of material it is. It's not realistic. That's not how we are going to get the picture. We have to always click on the fourth icon to the render preview. When we click that, now it's much more realistic. So now we have shadows and we have light. Now these two elements that are very important, they affect the whole look. If I don't like color, I can just go to base color and adjust it a little bit. So I'll choose something maybe a little bit lighter. I will choose color here. Also you can see that it's RGB, HSV and hex. And also you can have these as a sliders. The next on the right side, you can choose intensity, make it lighter or darker. And once you're done, you just click somewhere else or just move your mouse outside and it should disappear. Under the base color, you can see there are a lot of options. And if you scroll down, there are even more. We don't care about all of them right now. We just go and select few of them. After we selected base color, we are going to add some roughness. So we find the roughness, and roughness by default is 0.5. Roughness means the reflection of the surface. If we move roughness from 0.5, it acts as a mirror. You can see now it reflects the point light here. So we can see exactly the dots in very circular shape. Exactly, if it was, imagine, light bulb, it would be like this. And when I go back to roughness settings in the material properties window and I try to increase it, you can see how it tries to blend in and it becomes blurrier and the light spreads around. Let's keep this at 0.5. 0.5 as it was by default. If you move that, if you increase the values, the reflection will be more soft and blurrier. The next thing we can change is our specular. So specular is the level of reflectivity in the material. It will say how many reflections Blender should make, if many or not at all. So we can move to the left side, no reflections, and to the right side we have reflections here. Let's keep it as it was, around 0.5. Finally, let's add color to the can. So I'll click Command S to save it. And before we add color, we can just click F12 and take another picture. So I'll click Image and click Save As. And there is a window panel behind it. I will rename it Can Image Background Color and choose, instead of PNG, I'll choose JPEG and move quality to 100 and click Save as Image. And now the image was saved. Exit it. Let's select the can first of all, and with the can selected, add material. So you can see that we are already in the right side, we are already in material properties. And this can doesn't have any color. So we can just click New as we did before. But before I do that, I will show you this icon on the left side, this black and white circle. If I click on this, you can see that there are two materials. There is a material, and this is material that is, I think, by default there, and there is another one, background color. So if I select background color, it will apply the same color that we already added on background on the can. So we can take another picture, so I'll click F12 again. I will not take picture right now, but it's just interesting to see how it renders and how it looks like. So with adding colors, with shadows and with light, we are getting somewhere. I will exit this, and now to make realistic color, so let's go to the properties panel, let's change the base color from the one we have into, let's say, blue. And what happens? We have a problem. We are affecting this color that we selected before. And it is something that we want to do sometimes when you have the same objects and you want to apply the same color, we can do that. But in this case, it's actually not what we want to do. I want to click Command Z to cancel that, and instead of adding new color, I will click on this number 2. And this also, if I hover on this, it says it displays the number of users of this data. And if I click on 2, what it did, it added this ending 001. So now if I go to my material library, is this icon, black and white circle, I can see that now I have background color, the one we created before. And after I click on that number 2, it created the second one. It is exactly the same, it duplicated it. But now I can just rename it. So here I don't want to have the same background color because it's the can, so I'll say can metallic or something like this. I click somewhere away, and now I can change color of this one. So now if I change color of the can to any color, this changes the color only of the can. And if I go to material library, I can see I have background color, which is pink, purple, and then I have this green for can. Of course, I don't want to have green for this can. It looks very plasticky right now, so I want to change that into metallic, into silver metallic. So I'll go to base color, select on this green color that I have now. I know the code of this silver color, so I'll click on hex, and in hex I will just enter code. For silver, I'll use C0, 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 and can click enter, and now it became kind of the same that it was before. It looks the same, but if I go to material library in the right side, I can see that maybe this can metallic and material colors that not exactly. I can switch from material. You see it's much brighter, and if I click on can metallic, it becomes a little bit different. Okay, so now let's make this look metallic. One of the properties is metallic property. And right now it's set to 0 value. So I'll just scroll this to the right, and the more I will scroll, the more metallic it is. But in real life, there is no material that is a little bit metallic and no. So basically it's 0 if it's not metal and 1 if it's metal. So we can just move between completely 0 or completely 1. And this is something more similar to metal. Still not exactly, so we need to adjust it a little bit more. And also I want to remove some of the roughness, and that makes the object a bit more shiny. So the more I reduce, the more shiny it gets. It looks much better than before. It is still far from the color of the can, but it's something that we can work with. Let's look through the camera, and it looks dark. I think maybe the angle could be different now, or I could change the way the light is. So I'll select on the light, go to the light settings in the right side, and of course I could increase the lighting here. So from 1000 watt I could say 2000 watt to make it brighter. I can switch camera now, see how it looks like. I could just try to change the position of it to see what looks better. Maybe I will leave the camera and look from the top, select the light and move the light somewhere here, and see how that looks like. Maybe I want to move the light down to have it a bit more shiny, and look through the camera now and see how it looks like. and I will go to render settings. Let's go to the left side to the properties panel, and let's click on this camera icon, the second icon, and this is the settings that we want to look into that. So the first one, ambient occlusion, which fills all the cavities with darkness. So if we select that one from this side, maybe it's more visible, so you can see that now some of the parts of it becomes darker. Let's click on the disclosure button on the left side next to ambient occlusion. Open this one. If we increase distance, it will make the effect stronger. So if I increase it, you can see how it changes. So the inside of the can becomes darker, it becomes more realistic. Too much of it will make it look less realistic. The next thing is bloom. Let's add some bloom. So let's mark bloom, and here we can see it makes highlights to shine a little. So you can see if I rotate, it's the reflection. Click disclosure button next to bloom, and here we have other options. So the threshold is the one we are interested. So bringing it down creates a lot of bloom, and increasing makes it less bloom. So I'll make it less. You can see it's less bloom, so it makes a bit more fading everywhere. And if I move to the right, within this range from 0 to maybe 2, I can see the results. So I can play around with this. Bloom is dependent on the light. If you change light source to the sun instead of the point, you will see how much the bloom you have. So now let's try to add one more thing. Let's add screen space reflection. So let's go back to render, properties, and we have ambient occlusion marked, we have blue marked, and now let's find screen and space reflection. Let's select that one, and you can see what happens. So now the can that we made, now it starts reflecting our background color. And of course, if you open screen space reflections, you have some more settings here, but let's keep it as it is. And if you look through camera right now, it looks much more realistic. We have really shiny can. We have also a lot of reflection going on. Maybe it's even too much, maybe it's too strong, maybe the light is too close, or the colors are too intense. And then with the practice we can make it better, but so far I think it looks really good. If you look into render options, there are like so many other things that you can do. The last one at the bottom, it's color management. If you open color management, you can see all these options. So if you look view transform, it gives you already color transformation. So you can say false color, completely opposite. It's used in engineering, we don't need it here. We have raw, we can select filmic, log, and then filmic. This is how we have it by default, and standard. So let's click it, filmic. You can adjust exposure and gamma. Let's now click F12 on the keyboard, and let's export this as an image. So this, I think it looks good. I will click in image and click save as, and say can final render, and click save as image. And that was it for basic color tutorial.